the shortage of yeast, I'm going to show you how to make a no yeast cinnamon roll. This recipe can be made in about 1 hour, and instead of yeast, it relies on a chemical leavener, baking powder. To begin, you're going to preheat your oven and then mix up your cinnamon roll filling. This includes melted butter, light brown sugar, and cinnamon. And you can set that aside until later. To begin our dough, we're going to combine our flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. And next, we're going to add in our cold cubed butter. It's important that it's cold here, and it's much easier if you cut it up into small cubes first before adding. When you add in the cold butter, you can use a fork, a pastry blender, or just your fingers to rub the butter into the flour so that it resembles almost a cornmeal or breadcrumb texture. So you can see here the butter has been mixed in. It looks like breadcrumbs. And now I'm going to mix up my sour cream and my 2 egg yolks. I'm going to mix the wet into the dry until it just comes together. I'm going to press and roll it out into a 16 by 12 inch rectangle. If you need to push it together a little bit, if it wasn't totally mixed, that's fine. And you should use a lightly floured rolling pin as well so that you don't have any sort of things sticking. If you find some is still sticking, just go ahead and dust some flour on the top as well. Another trick is you can take some plastic wrap and put it on top, and that way it also, I find, leads to a smoother rolling out and nothing will stick. If you use the plastic wrap, you also don't have to add any additional flour into your recipe, which sometimes can be an issue with breads. The best way to tell if you've reached the size that you need is to use a ruler, and I need 16 by 12. So I'm about 14 by 11 and a half. So I'm going to keep rolling it out. And you want it to be as even thickness as possible. And try to get the corners square. And if you need to squish it out a little to make it more even on the edges, that's again where the plastic wrap comes in handy. All right, now I'm going to peel this off, and we are all set to put our filling on. I'm going to spoon my filling over my dough as evenly as possible using the back of a spoon, or I'm going to use my offset spatula. Now we are going to roll the dough up in a log. I'm going to just put my scraper under here, might help me get started. And I can see that mine's sticking a little bit under here on the counter, so you may want to make sure that you put a good layer of flour underneath. What I always suggest is to cut in the middle first. And we'll know that we need to get 6 from each side. So split them in half again, and now you know that each quarter section you need to get 3 out of. This recipe calls for a 10-inch round pan. You're going to grease the bottom of this and then lay your cinnamon rolls in, cut side up. I'm going to use a little pan spray. You could just brush it with some oil or some butter. These are going to go in a 400-degree oven for 30 to 35 minutes until they are brown and puffed and the filling is bubbling.